Let's just do Mark and Eric.
I can do Mark and Eric too.
I
that's
think.
fine.
You are, as I said, you are the brother of Anthony Harden, who was shot and killed by a Fall River police officer.
Yes.
And what was the date of that?
November 22nd, 2021.
All right. You are a lawyer and attorney in the city of Boston.
I practice predominantly in Providence, in
Okay.
South Boston. But yeah.
Okay. You live in Fall River?
I live in Fall River. I live in the Four Winds area.
Yep. Did you grow up in Fall River?
I grew up in Fall River. I attended Dubuque School for elementary, Henry Lloyd for middle, and Durfee for part of high school. And then I went to boarding school in Rhode Island for my sophomore, junior, and senior year of high school.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, we're trying to establish background here.
Yep.
This is a question that you could ask of anybody. Were you close with your brother? Did you see him all the time? And
yeah, I mean, So
I mean, because families are different. You know?
Yeah. So it's well, first of all, am I close to my brother? Yes. There's 10 years separation in age, right? So that's a little distinction. But me and my siblings, we raised our little brothers because my mom died when I was like 24 and he was 14.
Okay.
So he lived with me growing up and while I was in law school, and when I moved back to Fall River. So.
Yeah, close does it.
Yes.
Close does it, yeah. Because, I mean, there are people who haven't, it's not necessarily that they have, some kind of beef with a brother or sister. They're just not close for one reason or another.
Yeah, and I mean,
but as you guys apparently were.
We are close, and, as you get older, life happens, and you don't speak with each other as often as you probably like to. So that's why I was
I don't speak to my wife as much as I want, sure.
Yeah, so, life happens, and I wouldn't say we spoke every day, but will we speak every week? The answer to that question is probably yes. Okay.
All right, and he was killed in his home.
He was killed in his bedroom at the foot of his bed, so to be more specific.
Now, what was his situation? Did he have priors for?
He has never been convicted of any crimes.
All right.
His wife complained about them fighting before, and that's what he was arrested for.
Right. He had an incident with a sword, and I'm going by what I've read. So, I mean, you have your input here, too.
Yeah. Well, it's a little sword, and I figure it more like a letter opener than a sword. That's why the description's a little, that's an exaggeration of the circumstance, I would think. And they walked into his house, they told him to drop it, and he dropped it. So there wasn't any...
Did he have a case hanging as a result of that? Was he?
As a result of that specific incident is why he was under house arrest.
Okay, so he was involved in the judicial system at that point.
At that point.
Which isn't... I'm not saying that to paint the guy badly, because plenty of people are,
Yeah, so, I was involved in the lead up to the call of the police for that incident. I wasn't able to attend the dangerousness hearing because of a conflict, but I went back and read the transcript of the hearing because I wanted to know what the whole story was rather than just sort of bits and pieces. So what happened was, as I understand it and this is the testimony from his wife, he was concerned about her cheating on him. He wanted to look at her phone. They got into an argument about it. They got into a fight. She hit him with a chair. She bit him. There was a fight,
Sure.
There was a fight, He stopped the fight to make up, to no longer continue this. He still had her phone. She said, give me my phone back. He said, I'll give you your phone back if you have sex with me. Then they had sex.
Not the first time that's been tried either.
And that was the cause of his rape charge and why he was under house arrest for that long. And they wanted him to register as a sex offender for that. And he said he didn't want to register as a sex offender because that doesn't lend itself to you being, at least in my mind, a sexual predator.
It's at least on the line. Yeah, it's at least, and sex offender, there have been people who have had to register as a sex offender because they have drunkenly urinated on the street. Which I don't recommend, but...
Yeah, you could be 4 years older than somebody. Right. And have sex with them, freshman and senior high school. So there are lots of circumstances where somebody could be considered a sex offender, but that's the circumstances that led up to that issue.
As far as he died was it at night?
Early afternoon, I believe at 5:40 in the afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah.
According to all right, why were the police there the day he died?
So
who called them? Why were they there?
And I'm giving you, sort of piece together some things as I know them right now, right? So he gets into a fight with his girlfriend, not his wife, two separate women, on Saturday. And I don't really know the circumstance of that fight, but it ends up her leaving, him being there. Monday, she comes back to get some of her stuff. They get into another fight. He gives her her cell phone, and by the way, these are always related to cell phones, and unfortunately, that's what the world we live in.
Just a lot of stuff is at this, and that's actually, when I started as a reporter,
Yep.
Like a million years ago, when you wrote domestics, it used to be that the guy pulled the phone out of the wall so she couldn't call anybody. That was like really common.
Okay.
Or you know, like tore the and then it gradually transmogrified to where the argument was over the cell phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, continue.
All right, so she then goes back on Monday to get her cell phone and something else, right? She goes back, she gets her cell phone, and I think he drew on it or something, right? Made some inscriptions, wrote his name on it or something like that, I don't know. But now this is at the point where this infuriates her, to the point where she calls the cops.
All right.
She's at her home now. Like, so she gets her cell phone stuff, goes back to her home, thinks about it, and decides to call the cops.
Right.
Then the cops proceed to her house, interview her, and then they proceed to his house, and that's where the incident occurs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what the original report I talked about said, and I made quite a bit out of it, as an old reporter, said there was a knife present. And I said, I'm not sure what present means.
So I will say a few things to that. The first thing is, their kitchen wasn't operating, so it was under construction. So I had his birthday party. We had his birthday party September 29th when he turned 30, and we ate in his bedroom, because that's where they ate. You know what I mean? He had his TV, he had his video games.
The place was under construction.
The place was under construction, they ate in his bedroom. So I was like, there was a knife present in his bedroom. I was like, I'm sure there was. Like, he ate there. He spent a lot of his time there at that point in time. But to your point about what that means, it's a very ambiguous statement. And I'm going to go a little on. So they said there was a knife present then. And then in the warrant, they said that he lunged at them with the knife, right? Which is, in my mind, different from present.
Right.
And then in the report, they said he repeatedly tried to stab the officer. So these to me are three separate and distinguished stories, each progressively more in favor of the police officers.
Okay, so he, according to the last thing you had from the police, he lunged at an officer and a second officer shot him, correct? Is that how that went down?
Yeah, okay. So...
Again, according to the report.
According to the search warrant, he lunged at the officer. According to the report, he repeatedly tried to stab the officer.
Okay.
But in both of those, there was one officer who he was engaged with him, best way to characterize it.
Right.
There was another woman.
Grappling or whatever,
Yeah. So that's
and the other officer shot him.
Yeah, that's
once.
Twice.
Twice?
Yeah, twice.
All right.
Yeah.
And dead at the scene or upon arrival?
So
I know this sucks for you, but I mean, these are...
You're welcome to answer any questions.
You know, these are the questions, you know.
So, and this is the part of the story for me that is somewhat confusing. So he lives on the same street as St. Anne's Hospital. Like, if you have a pretty good arm, you could probably throw a baseball from his house to St. Anne's.
Okay.
They sent him to Rhode Island Hospital, right?
They generally do, because they have a trauma center.
They have a trauma center, so it's understandable, right?
Right.
But then, at some point, they say his condition worsened, and they rerouted him back to St. Anne's. So when I got to the hospital with my family, we asked, where's our brother? They said he was in Providence.
Right.
So we're waiting to hear back, but he's really in St. Anne's Hospital. Now, I surmise when they say, well, first of all, when you're going to Rhode Island hospitals because you're in bad condition, right?
Right. It's always been the trauma center. It's where I mean, yeah, you get winged in the calf, you don't go there. You take one in the chest and Fall River, you go to Rhode Island.
They say his condition worsened. I have a suspicion that he died on the way to the hospital. They're not
to Rhode Island.
Yeah, they're not clear about. They say his condition worsened, which is, I think they're soft pedaling the fact that he died on the way, and then they turned around and tried to get him to St. Anne's.
Okay.
But I don't know that for a fact, and I also don't know where they turned him around. Like, did they get to Braga Bridge and turn around? Did they get to,
right?
What page?
How the evening proceeded.
Yeah. So I don't know the specifics of that.
Okay, murky waters.
Yeah.
Your family is suing. Are you suing now?
Well, We're not suing for any money. Oh, the only lawsuit that we've ever filed is to get all of the information in the documents.
All right, is that still ongoing?
That's still ongoing. Yeah.
Where are you in the
There is
the process?
There is a hearing on the 7th. They filed a motion to dismiss. I don't think they're going to win on it to the lawsuit, but we have filed an objection to it, and
Right.
that's sort of proceeding on its way. So,
All right, what bottom line? Well, one of the bottom line questions: what do you want? What do you and your family want? What do you want the DA to give you?
I want to see everything. I mean,
Okay.
every single stitch of the evidence.
You want a toxicology?
I want the toxicology report. I want to see the actual interviews. I want the police
the
reports.
autopsy.
I want the autopsy. I want the phone records. I want the videos. There was traffic in and out of the hospitals, St. Anne's and I think Charlton. I want those. I want the records from the police officer.
You want the ambulance records?
I
as
want
you
the
said,
ambulance
where did
records.
They turn around?
I want everything.
What are you being told is, because the DA is being resistant, what are you being told as to why you can't have this?
They say the investigation's ongoing. Now, I'll say two things to that. First, the law is pretty clear that just because it's an ongoing investigation doesn't mean they give you nothing. They can only hold back the stuff that will influence the ongoing investigation.
It will prejudice the investigation,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. So from day one, they could have given us information. But we actually waited till the investigation completed in our eyes and then asked them for the information. And they said this is still ongoing. So this happened, what are we, almost 4 months ago?
Yeah.
And I don't believe there's an ongoing investigation. What are they investigating? You know what I mean? The police officers have been cleared. You know who did it. You know who pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
You've already given the reason that they pulled the trigger. So what is this ongoing investigation? I don't even believe that that's happening. And they've given no explanation of what they're doing and when they'll be done with it. So I just believe they're stalling.
All right. And as you said, they have filed a motion to dismiss, and you filed a motion, your side has filed a motion objecting
Yeah.
to that. A motion of dismissal would be pretty standard in something like this, and it's pretty standard in a lot of trials. It's something you try. Let's give this a shot a lot of the time. Find grounds for it and see if it works.
I will say a few things. It's not common. I
I've
will.
seen it more than once,
So it's not unheard of, but it's not common. So if there's 100 cases, if you filed a motion to dismiss in 10, that would be probably right. But in this one, there's a specific case that says you're not supposed to do this. They're not. What they're asking the court to do is against the law, like literally.
According to you found precedent.
Yeah, there's a case
law.
that's exactly on point. And even aside from that, the case law is pretty clear that you're supposed to give us the stuff that won't prejudice the investigation. So it's not like they could say there's an ongoing investigation, you don't get anything. Because there's an ongoing investigation, you don't get these specific things.
And at this point, you haven't gotten anything.
I haven't got anything.
Anything.
Yeah, in my understanding.
Have you seen the police report?
I haven't seen the police report.
No, so
I
nothing.
went down there to get it. They won't give it to me. I sent the woman that made the report down there to get it. They wouldn't give it to her. It's been, and I don't want. So there's another gentleman that was shot 5 years ago, Larry Ruiz Beretta.
I remember that.
Yeah. I don't think that they've gotten everything from that investigation. So the idea that, if you keep waiting and be nice to us, we're going to give it to you, I just don't believe that at all.
If you keep waiting, we're kind of hoping you'll run out of gas.
We're hoping you'll run out of gas. We're hoping this will go away. That's what's going on here.
Yeah, because it's a painful process.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that...
I'm not suggesting that you would ever, close the door on the death of your brother, no matter what the circumstances, whether the police were right or wrong.
Yeah.
And as little as I know, I'm not coming down on either side. But to have to revisit it constantly is...
Yeah, I mean, we have to live with it every day.
Yeah,
right?
my mother died a bad death of Alzheimer's in a nursing home. It was horrible. 3 years ago, what I don't do is go to the nursing home every single day now, so I can revisit it.
Yeah,
I still mourn her, but I don't have it in my face every minute of my life.
So I characterize this. There's sort of three hats that I like to think about. And one, he's my brother, right? There's songs that come out. Oh, that's what me and Anthony used to blah blah blah. So he's my brother, and that's one hat. That's very unfortunate to lose. But the second one is, I live in Fall River in Bristol County. This happens to somebody else. It did happen to somebody else. It happened to Larry Ruiz Beretta, and he still hasn't gotten anything. So you get to kill somebody, shoot them in their home, and say, we don't have to give you anything. Take our word for it. They're basically telling this whole world that they have a royal flush, right? He tried to kill this person. I said, all right, let me see the cards. No. I can't let you see the cards. Take my word for it, and I just don't think that's appropriate. They should be required to give you everything.
And as near as you can determine, there's no legal bar to that.
No, there's no legal bar to that. Right. That's just them stalling. And then the third hat is the legal hat in my mind. I try not to wear the lawyer hat in this, but it's,
you're stuck with it.
Yeah, I can't take it off, right? And then there's the legal aspect to it that I sort of think through on time to time, but I try not to do that because we actually there is a lawyer that we have.
Right.
You know what I mean?
His case.
It's his case, and I'm not an unbiased witness, so I try to recognize that going into it.
I think this is this is a drum that sort of beats in the back of my head, probably yours too, having been around a while and in a number of places. They kill your brother because he was black, or did it change the way he was perceived? I don't think I don't think I would be amazed. Police officers in general don't get up in the morning and go black man hunt. They don't. Not generally. But do you think that perception is one of the reasons he's dead?
So there's a lot of sort of things that are sort of hanging around.
Do you think I'd be dead?
Well, I want to start with some facts and then go to some assumptions, I guess, right? So these are the facts, right? My brother was the last person shot by a Fall River police officer.
Right.
The prior person shot by a Fall River police officer was Larry Ruiz Beretta, who was Spanish.
Right.
And then I think the prior one was Malcolm Gracia in New Bedford, right? So these are 3 people of color, the last 3 people.
Right.
Could be a coincidence, but quite a coincidence, right? They're all different circumstances that underline the facts, but those are the facts, right? Now, whether the trigger was pulled because of the color is, you're talking about somebody's motivation for making a decision in the heat of a moment.
Right.
So that's a very hard thing to sort of.
I think it is too. But this is America. If you claim you're colorblind, you're full of shit. That's just the rule. And that applies
to everybody.
To blacks as well as it does whites. If you think, you may not be a hell on wheels hater of white people or hater of black people, but face it, if you say you're colorblind, you're lying.
If you say I don't see color or something to that effect, that's just a bald-faced lie because you do see color.
Correct.
Right? Now it's the assumptions that you make based upon that are really what do we.
And if I'm willing to act on them, and how.
Yeah, and now there's a lot of assumptions and me sort of saying what the person did and why, right?
Sure.
But the part that is the worst, the second part of that is where I am now. I don't think I've ever said anything about the cops actually at this point in time. The part that I've said is what the district attorney has been doing, which is the very problem to me.
All right.
They have immediately tried to paint my brother as bad as they possibly can, which is a PR move, right? This is pure. They want to bury the story as quick as they can. And now the way they wrote the report, they don't even get to the incident until page 7. 5 or 6 pages of what everything he's done in his whole life bad. That's what the beginning is.
I've written it before in columns, and I've said it here, in particular with reference to the George Floyd killing.
Yep.
You don't get to shoot a guy for stuff he did before.
And by the way, stuff they didn't even know about. These police officers.
No, but that's not the way the whole thing works. That's not. I could have robbed a bank when I was 40 years old, and if I shoplift now, you don't get to shoot me because I robbed a bank, or if you suspect me. You do not get to act on what happened before.
I am aware of scenarios where they have shot and killed somebody, and their immediately first reaction, them being the DA, is to go to court, give me every case about this person, anything they've done wrong, and let me put everything out there.
And there are officers on a beat, especially in a city as dense as this, who will enter certain situations and be very well aware of who they're dealing with.
Yeah.
And think, oh God, not Frank Smith.
Yeah.
That this is going to be a horror show. My God, he hit me with a bottle last time.
Yeah.
That situation is fairly common.
From what I know, that was not this.
Right.
From what I know, they didn't know anything about this prior incidents. That's the best I know. And I mean, they came to his house for something that really happened 2 days ago. They went to his bedroom
To find out what did his girlfriend say he had done?
He had broken her phone.
All right.
But I think she had a mark on her face. So this is what I hear. I want to get the call that she made, as well as the police report, to see exactly what was reported.
Right.
Because right now I'm going on sort of what's murky out there. But they go in his house. He says, come on in. He's sitting down in his bedroom, at the end of the bedroom. They walk through his living room into his bedroom, and that's where the incident occurred. So, like, I've never met with a cop in my bedroom.
How did they enter his house?
The upstairs neighbor comes down. I think, they're knocking on the door. The upstairs neighbor comes down, opens the door. Anthony, hey, the cops are here. And then they walk through his house and go into his bedroom.
So the door wasn't locked. I mean, they didn't break the door down.
They didn't break the door down or anything like that.
Right.
They just walked in.
Right.
Now, I have issues with them walking through his house and then saying, well, there was a knife in his bedroom. I was like, if you have concerns, like, say, hey, can you come out and talk to me for a second? Like, there's some tactical issues that are sort of like, why would you do this as an officer? But even after the incident, they put my other brother in handcuffs, who was across the hall, and put him in the car. They went upstairs, handcuffed the other person, put him down, drew guns on him as well. So these are the things that, like, they don't talk about in the reports.
Were charges filed against either your brother or the person upstairs?
No, they didn't do anything. So, you know what I mean? So there's a much greater story, and they've only told what they want to tell.
All right. So what you want is everything. What you want is all the information available.
I want to see everything, and I actually don't understand why that is a sort of an issue. Do you know what I mean? Why is it an issue? If what you say is true, what's the issue with giving me everything that supports your conclusion?
Yeah, if what you say is true, prove it. And you should want to.
Yeah, you shot my brother in his bedroom. I didn't say he was justified or unjustified. I said, show me everything.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a fine line to walk. It's a fine line to walk. I think asking for information from your government is, I want you to have it as a taxpayer.
And this is me as the second hat I was at. I'm a citizen of Bristol County.
Right.
Every citizen should have exactly this right that I'm asking for, and it shouldn't be controversial. It should be the standard rather than exception.
Should be normal paperwork.
It should be normal paperwork for that to do it. And for them to act this way is concerning to me. And it should be concerning to everybody.
All right. Well, perhaps I will see you again when this moves forward a little. When did you say your next appearance on this matter is?
It's next week.
And it is before a judge or a conference?
That's before the judge, yes.
It'll be before a judge.
Yeah.
It's to rule on the dismissal.
Yeah. So.
All right. What we know now isn't much. But I may have you back, maybe not after this next hearing on the matter, but certainly in the future.
Yep.
Because I think man's dead. A man is dead.
He's dead. You know who pulled the trigger. You've told the story about what's happening, but you're saying you're still investigating? It just doesn't even make any sense.
Right. Well, thanks for coming in. I think it was important to get you on our record. I don't think anybody else has interviewed you. And most importantly, because you and I are both people, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry. I've lost people in my life, although not the same way, and it hurts. It hurts like hell.
Well, thank you very much.
I'm sorry that had to happen to you, and I've seen enough death to know it's awfully permanent. I'm sorry it had to happen to your brother, and you can stay in touch with me, all right?
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
All right.
Take it easy.
Yep.